with some opening remarks.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Simon. Let me greet all the officials who are actually on this platform. Let me, of course, acknowledge respective representatives from the media houses. I'm not sure who else would be on, whether any of the players are actually on, but I must use this opportunity to express my absolute delight. I mean, we were impressive in victory, impressive in doing so. And when you participate in a competition with 23 teams and you come out scoring 25 goals and conceding 2, and albeit one was extremely dubious, that penalty call. So we are indeed in a position to big up our coach and his staff, his assistant coach, of course, every member of that technical staff that would have helped us to have convincingly won the CFU Under-14 Challenge Series. This now is something that will put us in a situation, having now been made aware that the World Cup, the Under-17 World Cup, will be every year. We will now have to put in place a contingency plan to ensure that all of our teams from 14 up to 17 are of course in training, so that we can all make that transition from 14 to 15, 15 to 16, 16 to 17. That certainly will present a huge challenge. But just like how we were able to be successful in our sojourn just completed, we were assisted tremendously by a program that was funded by FIFA, the TDS program. And some months ago, we actually applied for some support under the TDS program. And we were fortunate. We were one of 25 countries that FIFA would have heeded the call. And we were given tremendous support as we put together a under-14 training squad, which would have spent a lot of time at the Captain Bird Center of Excellence, working with Coach Peart and his support staff. And like they say, the rest is history now. What we really need is for private sector, government, and of course our parent organizations to come on board, because we want to certainly qualify for the Under-17 World Cup next year. And we want to run up a sequence of qualification. But we must have an organized plan in place to ensure that the U14s make the transition, likewise 15, likewise 16, so that every year we can participate in this global tournament. Again, I must reiterate that the support from FIFA would have really prepared us for this tournament. And I tell you, I was so impressed with how the youngsters played, how they conducted themselves. And kudos to, again, Coach Peart and his support staff. We want to ensure that this process continues. I must also, it will be extremely remiss of me not to mention the work of our General Secretary and, of course, the chairman of our technical committee, who would have put hearts and hands together to ensure that we would have gotten things right. Coach Peart did an excellent job. And when I watched him in the last 2 games, the semifinals that we won 3-1 after conceding a penalty, I mean, he was calm, he was calculated, he did what he knew was right. And of course, the youngsters seemed coachable, because the moment they came back onto the field, you could see the intent of wanting to score goals, wanting to move the ball around, and wanting to be very positive in their play. Same thing with in the finals. We conceded a goal. Number of persons. In fact, it was unfortunate, some of the comments that were made on him, like he would have said prior to the game, was intent on ensuring that we score some goals. Congratulations, Coach Peart. I mean, I know you would have shown the highest level of commitment to this program. And we want to assure you that the JFF will give you as much support as we can to ensure that there is some longevity, there is major productivity, and that the process will continue leading up to or under 17's qualification for the World Cup. Thanks again, and may God bless you all, Media House representatives, those from the JFF, and of course, the coaching staff of our U14 program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ricketts. Greatly appreciated. There are now, Mr. Chung, opening remarks from yourself, as we also welcome the general manager of teams, Mr. Roy Simpson, has just joined us as well.
Thank you, Simon. Good morning, everyone. We were planning to have this yesterday, but of course our president was away, so he just came back, and we could not have it without our president. And I say that because, you know, one thing I've always said, and this under 14 challenge has shown it, the work that this administration has been putting in and the results of this administration has been the most successful, bar none. You're talking about 2 Women World Cup, you're talking about 3rd in the Nations League, you're talking about first time qualifying for Copa, right? 3rd in the under 15. We've done so with that youth. I mean, Simon is the statistics man, but we would have done a lot, and commendations to the president for his selection, because we don't understand that all of these things that are happening are strategic selections that were done by the president. Let me say, first to start, I want to also add my commendations to the team. We met them yesterday, and the boys are not only good footballers, but when it comes to their discipline and the way they carry themselves, they're really truly representatives of the country. I want to thank the management, Roy, as general teams manager, the other managers, and also the coaching staff. I told Andrew that I don't have anything to curse him about for the next week, and that was like yesterday. Andrew said I have 6 more days, right? But no, I wanna seriously, you know, commend Andrew for the work with this team. One of the best coaches we have in the country right now, and also not just with this team, but the preparation before he has been doing with the youth team. As the president said, the TDS program, which Wendell TD will speak about, has shown significant benefit, and you know, this was a strategic decision made by the president also to ensure that we have this implemented. In fact, someone pointed out to me that the 2 teams that run Tier 1 and Tier 2 in the CFU competition are actually on the TDS program, which shows the benefit of the program. And also the other work that's being done by Andrew in terms of the coaching school would, I think, significantly have impacted and helped. And the work, the sponsorship that was secured recently with Real Nephew in terms of training 500 coaches at the primary school level, that's going to have a serious impact. I want to also appeal to our sponsors to show them that this JFF is intent on the development of football locally. I mean, Andrew can speak to it, but I know that all players who are local players, Andrew, all right? But nobody came from overseas, which shows that we have the talent here. If we put the infrastructure in place to hold everyone together, then, you know, we could be producing the world-class footballers, just like athletics now locally is producing the world-class athletic stars, and that's our intent with the program. So I think that everything that you see here is based on strategy decisions that have been taken, the work that we've been doing to grow things incrementally and have cumulative benefits. So I just want to add my commendation to everyone, and say to the public and sponsors, stick with us. We want to ensure that this under-14 team is the one that goes on to, after qualifying for the 26 World Cup, that we qualify also for the 2030 World Cup, right? And continue that going forward. So thank you, Simon. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, President. Thanks, Roy. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everybody, for the work that you have done over the past year to ensure that this is successful, because this success doesn't come just overnight. This is something that is coming from a seed that was planted a year to a year and a half ago. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chung. Appreciated that as well. So as Mr. Chung and Mr. Ricketts alluded to earlier, the TDS program, that is where our technical director, Mr. Downswell, will speak on at this point in time. So Mr. Downswell, you may unmute and proceed to give your remarks as well.
Good morning to everyone.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just begin by saying that, you know, kudos to the President, the General Secretary, Chairman of the Technical Committee for the vision and the foresight to be part of and to be an integral part of the JFF TDS Technical Development Scheme. And of course, the major objective of this program is to ensure for the next 2 years that we have the best level of preparation going into the under 17, and that is for both genders, male and female. What happens here actually is that FIFA has put in place a staffing that will ensure that we have the best preparation going forward. And in place presently, we have, in terms of staffing, we have Stefan Avery, who is a FIFA coach, who is here to oversee the program. We have Lowen Purser, who is the local coach. We have in place an administrator, stroke coach, Sasha Dunn, and we have a goalkeeper coach, Robert Beckford, and also a physiotherapist. So as you can see, we have a comprehensive staff in place in terms of preparation. What actually, we started the program in January of this year. And what actually happens at the early stage, we started out having training twice per week. And as time progressed, we intensified the training program to 4 times per week. Hence, we have the rural-based players. That is the rural-based players. We brought them in on weekends to ensure that we have a good selection process of identifying the best possible talent. And that was done with the 4 scouts that the JFF employs. And they are Paul Maxwell, Karen Berry, Marlon Hilton, and Lee Croft Letman. What actually happens there, we have them in the different regions to ensure that we identify the best possible talent to be an integral part of the program itself. What we actually do, we also have these training, as I mentioned, 4 times per week, and also we have 2 crops of youngsters. We have those who are in the under 15 category and in the under 14 category. So we have 09 2010 and 2011 players that are engaged. And based on the selection process, we have identified 70 players who have been in the camp itself throughout the program thus far. And from there, we have selected somewhere between 20 and 25 in each category. And therefore, these players got the opportunity to participate in two international tournaments. The under-15s went to Sweden and participated in a youth tournament. The under-14 boys, they went to Cayman. They actually participated in a tournament in Cayman. So therefore, you can see the level of exposure and experience that they have gotten, and what you see transpired in the challenge series, the under-14 challenge series, is a fitting testimony to the level of preparation that they have gotten. And of course, from the JFF standpoint, when Coach Peard came in and started his preparation as it relates to the youngsters, you could definitely see the major difference that it plays throughout the tournament and the level of consistency that we saw. And by virtue of that, we were able to emerge as champion for the CFU under-14 challenge series, which is a major accomplishment. And this has set a platform, and it's just for us now to build on this. We come the middle of September, we will resume the program as it relates to the TDS program itself. We will now engage with the 2012 youngsters, and they will start their preparation going into the under-14. Hence, those who are part of the under-14 will be preparing for the under-15 CONCACAF youth tournament sometime next year in August. So based on the level of preparation that they'll be getting, we are pretty confident that these youngsters will be able to make the requisite transition through the ranks and ultimately into the national under-17. And on a long-term basis, we'll have a greater percentage of quality players transitioning into the under-20 and ultimately into our senior unit. So based on the TDS program, I think is a step in the right direction. It's a marvelous opportunity that we have in terms of preparation. And therefore, we are really looking forward to good things as it relates to the program itself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Downswell. Appreciate that. Yes, quite a tournament indeed. 25 goals, 2 goals against, and 6 matches in the space of 7 or 8 days. The man to speak all about this, we're going to have Andrew Peart join us now to discuss this and recap the experience in Tobago. So, Andrew, you may proceed and tell us about the experience, the preparation, and the whole journey for you and the staff and the players.
Good morning, everyone. Let me recognize the president, Mr. Ricketts, General Secretary, Mr. Downswell, Technical Director, and Mr. Simpson, General Teams Manager, and members of the media who are here. For us, the preparation started with the idea in terms of what makes us Jamaicans, what is when we look at, okay, a Jamaican team that we envision, how do we see a Jamaican team playing? And that idea was the platform for everything. We decided that we wanted to be a little bit more penetrative. We wanted to be a little bit more patient with the ball if we can't find the right opportunities. And then the other parts, the defensive part, we can work on that as a collective. But for us, the main thing was the work we're going to do with the ball. Let's have a clear idea as to how we want to play. And then we will make mistakes, but that's the job now of the coaches to encourage the intention rather than blame the execution. So sometimes the passes will be misplaced. You might not control it or whatever, but we prioritize looking at intentions rather than execution, because we know over time, trying, you will get it better. and recognizing what mistakes you made, then you'll get it better. So for us, that was the main thing in terms of the idea and establishing a game model for these youngsters that want to be a little bit more penetrative, who want to be a little bit more aggressive, physically and also mentally. And we carry that over into finding the right system of play for the boys. And as Mr. Ricketts mentioned, the boys were really coachable. And this is typical of youngsters at that age. They don't have a lot of playing experience, so they won't come to you with, oh, coach, this works better for me or that works better for me. It's about having a coach that believes in them and a coach that recognizes their strengths and play them in a position or a system that brings about their strengths more than how they would imagine. So that was the preparation leading up. Mr. Donzel mentioned 10 of the 20 boys training a tedious program. And the rest, the collective would come in on weekends to really accelerate the development. Going into the tournament now, it's a little bit of a challenge for them mentally because whilst going to Sweden, 2 of them went to Sweden and going to Cayman, this now is a different ball game where this is national team competition, not you playing against clubs or other sort of teams. This is now you playing nation against nation and everything is at stake. So that first game against St. Kitts, I thought we managed the game really well. We led 2-0 at halftime, but there were some aspects of the second half that we weren't too pleased with. But in rewatching the game, again, you saw the intention of the boys to really play the way we wanted to play. And for me, coming out of the tournament, that's the most pleasing thing for me in terms of, okay, yes, we won, we scored goals, we come home with a trophy. But when you see from minute 1 to 70, the intention of trying to play a certain way, when I look at even the 7th goal against French Guiana, we made 13 passes leading to the goal. So we exercise a whole heap of patience, trying to break the lines, players arriving into the box, because the more players you have arriving into the box, then the more chances you have of scoring. And also the team keeping a short shape in terms of from back to front. It's not big gaps where, okay, if we lose the ball, we suffer against counterattacks. Or if the gaps are big, then we can't connect the short passes. So that was very pleasing that from the first minute to the last, we still tried to play the way we wanted to play. And that's the most pleasing thing. So in terms of a seed being sown, I would say that's the most positive thing for these boys moving on to the CONCACAF U15 next year. So this experience will be massive for them because now they have a greater sense of belief in themselves and also belief in a plan that the JFF has for them. And with more training and more support, as mentioned by everyone who spoke before me, then we will get better. Because when I look at last year's U15 team, they didn't participate in the CFU tournament the year prior. They made it to the semifinal for the first ever in Jamaica's history. So not to put a lot of pressure on the program for the upcoming year, but with this platform, football is not as easy as 1 + 1 = 2, but with this experience, we will be expecting more from the entire program. And I believe they have what it takes to really compete with the North Central American and even the Caribbean teams who will play. So it's very important that we recognize that, okay, I always say this, it's like learning a new language. At start, you're not going to be as confident expressing maybe even in public, speaking a language, but with practice over time, then you'll become more confident in your abilities. And for the players, this is just the first stage of learning that new language. So come next year, we expect much more fluency. And in terms of the game, now we talk about fluency in terms of how we want to play. And I believe that they have what it takes to match the performances of last year's U15 team, or even do better. So it's a long-term strategic plan, which I must laud the JFF for, because this is what we need for our youth teams to really thrive to that level. especially the U17 World Cup now being expanded in terms of the number of teams participating and also being an annual event, we have to ensure that we are always there, because the U17 World Cup is the real platform for national success. When you look at even Switzerland, generation of players now, which is coming to the end, those players won the 2010 or 2011 U17 World Cup. And the majority of those players went through to senior team with just the success of one generation. So we are a small country. We have to ensure that as many of our players stay in the program as long as possible.
Yeah, thank you very much, Coach Pearce. Really appreciate that indeed. So, folks from the media, you may now raise your hand and indicate you have any questions for Coach Pearce, Mr. Downswell, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Chung. Any questions you have, please raise your hand and then you will be identified, and then you can go ahead and pose your question. We'll have a few minutes for questions and then we will conclude this press conference. So you may go ahead and raise your hand and we can proceed. All right, Mr. Blake, you may proceed.
Good morning to the members of the panel, morning to the President, GenSec, and all protocols observed. I have two questions. First one is in two parts. First, congratulations to the President. You must be proud to bring home the first silverware in many moons for Jamaica. So if you could just expand on how you see this impacting the football program in Jamaica, and congratulations also to the coach and the players who made Jamaica proud. And the part B of that question is, Coach, what players, I know you don't like to single out sometimes, but certainly what aspects of the team, midfield, defense, the forward line, really stood out for you, and that we can look forward to in the future, and what are the plans between now and the next competition? That's the first question. I'll allow them to answer. I have a shorter one after.
Yeah, so Mr. Ricketts, the first one was to you regarding the trophy. It feels first.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for your commendations, sir. Indeed, this ought not to be directed to me, but certainly to every single individual that participated as part of the process of getting to the CFU and for winning. But thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your comments. And we're just very excited at the prospects. Having put this TDS program in place, we're absolutely sure that we do now have a proper development program. Like Dennis did mention, that we will now be expanding our coaches education program to ensure that every single primary or prep school is coached by someone with at least a D license coaching certificate. Next year, everybody, all the 500 who would have gotten their D license will be further trained to become a C license coach. So this is work in progress. And like I said, we are very, very optimistic and very positive about the future.
Yep, thanks, Mr. Ricketts. Coach Pearce, there was a question along the lines about defense, attack, the midfield, and players as well. So you can proceed on that.
I think Mr. Blake, who raised a question, rightly mentioned out that you don't like to single out persons, but it's a team effort. And I'll say this not to be cliched, but when we have the ball, we have 11 attackers. When we don't have the ball, we have 11 defenders. And I think that mindset and that level of focus from all the players that, okay, when we have the ball, so you will see when we have the ball, the defenders participate. They don't just get rid of the ball. They try to find the right solutions. Okay, is it an area where I can drive the ball forward to provoke somebody come in and find a pass inside or outside? Or can I just move it side to side to continue to find that solution? So I think that was very important for us. Also, the work of the offensive players contributing defensively. I think that makes a big difference, and it's part of the reason why the majority of our goals, well, we didn't concede a lot of goals. And if you look at the 2 goals we conceded, one was a penalty, so a set piece. And then the second one was a second phase of a set piece that we didn't defend so well. But in the general run of play, we never gave up a lot of chances. And even when we did a few, our goalkeeper really came up big, which is very important and a quality oftentimes rarely seen, where somebody who is not involved in the game as a goalkeeper for the majority can turn up with a big save to preserve a clean sheet or not expand a deficit. So the entire team, we commend them.
Great. Thank you, Coach Peart. Yes, Mr. Blake, I know you had said you had one more. You may proceed with that one more, and then Livingston start from the Gleaner.
I'm certainly. This one is my second question is directed to the General Secretary, just emanating from his opening remarks. Jensek, you mentioned that the team is comprised wholly of domestic-based Jamaican-born players. And I just want a clarification, because I wouldn't want anybody to misconstrue what you're saying, that you mentioned that this is the policy that we are honing and developing our talents here. And that would be the focus. Does this clarify that you're not indicating that there's the exclusion of our players from the diaspora? Because I wouldn't want anybody to misconstrue, certainly at this proud moment, that the program is all inclusive.
No, thanks for that. Thanks for that clarification. No, we're not excluding anyone. Anyone who is capable of playing for Jamaica certainly will play. I mean, but we want to ensure that we have the ability to develop talent locally. One of the reasons for this also that our mission in football is not just on the field we provide for people. So we're happy for this, to know that, you know, we have a choice. We can get people from overseas, we can get people locally, and we see the talent that is here locally. So thank you for that. We're definitely not excluding anyone from any part of this world, or if it
All right. Mr. Chung, you were just frozen for the last moment there. You could repeat what you said in ending, because I don't think the members of the media got that. But the last thing we heard you said was about no exclusion, something of those regard, because the audio chipped out for a moment there. All right. It looks like he's still frozen.
you hear me?
Can hear you now. Can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
I'm saying to Cataract there. No, we're not excluding anyone from anywhere, right? And thank you for that question and that clarification. And we'll include anyone within this world or anyone outside of this world who qualifies, as long as they qualify as a Jamaican player, they will be in the squad.
Thank you, Mr. Chung. Livingston Scott from the Gleaner, you can proceed.
Yes, afternoon, everyone. Congratulations again, Coach. But Coach, for you, over the years we have seen good teams that have come together, good Jamaican youth teams, but they have fallen apart along the wayside over the years. Any plans, any program in place to keep this core together? I know you might not be able to keep all of the players together, but any plans to keep this core together and help them to matriculate to the next stage?
Well, yes, it was mentioned at the top of this meeting or conference that there's a TDS program which the boys still qualify for, and also in conjunction with the TDS program, there will be weekend camps outside of the TDS program to continue the development of the national players. So that's the plan, because we focus now on the U15 tournament next year, but also these boys, we are looking at them in 2027 for the U17 World Cup. So it's a 3-year process with just different checkpoints yearly. That's what we're focusing on. So again, for us, as many as possible, as long as possible, in the programs, national programs, or the TDS program, that will be to our benefit. Part of our job as well as technical members of the GFF is about constantly evaluating and constantly supporting the players whilst they go into their environment, so that the development actually continues. And also part of it as well is to scout for more players, because I know with this success of the U14 team that you'll have many more players in the age group who are late bloomers, because they are at their stage of development where they are still growing. So somebody who may not have been seen this year, boom, will turn up next year as one of Jamaica's top 5 players. So understanding the biological process and also the technical development of players at this adolescent stage, we know there will be players out there who may not have participated at this level, but will still make the U15 team come next year. So that will be only good for us, because now you may find an next 15 players to add to these 20, whether local or domestic or from the diaspora. That will only enhance the quality of the team.
One more assignment, and this will go for the I think Mr. Ricketts and Director of Football, Mr. Downsell. In terms of the focus on the other youth programs, there have been some good signs over the last couple of years, but I don't think that there has been a focus like how this under 14 has been in camp and was thoroughly focused and given the best opportunity. Will we see similar focus on the other youth teams going into other tournaments in the future?
Because like I said minutes ago, is that we must now maintain that cohort to ensure that they make the transition into our U17s. And having now this TDS program, that will give us some latitude, will give us some financial support, so that the under 14s will be always stay together to ensure that they make the transition to under 15s and then certainly to the under 17. So this definitely will be an ongoing program. And like I've said, it's going to be a challenge for sure, but we are expecting support from private sector and of course from government and from our parent organizations. But definitely, this will be an ongoing program.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ricketts. We just have a few more questions before we conclude. Let's go with Javan Parchment and then Jason Hall. So, Mr. Parchment, you can proceed. Please unmute. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Sir Peart, your question to you. First, I want to say that I like the game model that you teach the boys. And the question is how easy it was to get them to understand how to function on the field and how you want them to function.
Thank you, Mr. Parchment. It's never easy, but I think this is where both parties meet at a point to get the best out of the collective. The players were really coachable, as Mr. Ricketts mentioned from his observation. So it's about, okay, you have a clear intention and you know that it won't be as smooth as and ever. What you just have to do is continue to work on it, continue to review and evaluate it. So we test it in terms of training sessions, in terms of games, and that's it. So the display from the boys was something really pleasing.
Last question. Could we have this model be a national model where, you know, once you're selecting a player to be in the national squad, you know, this is the criteria, this is the stuff that they should know and stuff like that. So it becomes easy for you.
Well, yes, you'd want to, for some or different environments, clubs, schools, whatever, to emphasize aspects of the game model. We're not asking, or we will not ask persons to play the same system, but what if you have two strikers? I think the principles are more important than the system or the formation setup.
Right.
But yes, and one of the things you don't want to exclude as well, at this stage, someone who you figure don't fit the system. I think at this stage, players are very receptive and coachable to actually fit into a way of playing. So still open for everybody, but as I mentioned, we will move forward in terms of publicizing the aspects of the game model that we have prioritized, because we see it fit for Jamaicans to really play like this way. But it won't be a mandatory thing where, okay, you must play like this or anything like that. It's a free choice for coaches or environments to work the way they see best. We're just promulgating some aspects of the way we want to play.
Lastly, I just want to say that I'm happy that you guys really improving in the coaching education. I think it's playing a big part in what is going on now in our youth football. I think there are a lot of work there in terms of resources to pump in, so that each parish can, you know, run their programs and so on. But I think the coach is getting better, even myself, testimony. Well, yeah, it's a good look. That's it.
Thank you. And it shows in terms of your questioning as well, Mr. Parchment, or should I say Coach Parchment. But my final point on that coach in education thing is, at this stage, so we have a program to start with the primary school supported by InSports or NFL. And our thing is, we don't know who is the next world-class player in a primary school somewhere out there, or prep school. So it's very important that coaches have that ability to improve and develop the players at that level. So when our next team gets them, or even the national team gets them, the starting point is not low, but actually the players come with some level of game understanding and technical development that actually accelerates the national team's output.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Parchment. We're going to end with two more, Jason Hall and Taj Bailey. So Jason Hall, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Simon. Jason Hall, Jason Guna TV here. I have two questions, one for Coach Peart and one for Technical Director Downswell. So I'll start with Coach Peart since he's on a roll right now. Coach Peart, first of all, congratulations on the victory. I was very pleased. You know, I analyzed football quite a bit, and I was very pleased with the style that I saw you trying to implement. So just kudos to you for that. But I did have a question just regarding like the time you worked with them prior to the tournament. I heard you mention that 10 of the 20 players went to Cayman. How long were you working with this team prior to like the tournament itself?
Prior to the tournament, the TDS program is there that they meet 4 days per week. I would meet with some of these boys since maybe April, May. So again, kudos to the work being done through the TDS program. I just think so at least 10 of them went to Cayman. I mentioned 10 are part of the TDS program,
Okay.
I think maybe some outside of that 10 from the other 10 went to Cayman, I'm not sure. But I know 2 went with me to Sweden to participate at the U15 level. Yeah, so the idea here now is once you have a clear idea or a clear way of playing, and once you have consistency in terms of engagement, so training, practice games, tournaments, then you'll have the results that you have now, and you will look forward to better displays when you move up higher levels.
All right, thank you, Coach. I know Technical Director Downs will have a question for you as well. I just was wondering, I heard you mention that the TDS program will be in effect basically for the next 2 years. Did I get that correctly? Or Simon, you can answer if
Yes. Yep, you're perfect for the next 2 years.
Okay, and so my question in regards to that is, you know, how well do you think you'll be able to implement what they're doing once that program is finished? Because I'm sure the goal of this would be to put something in place to continue the work. So you know, how confident are you that you'll be able to implement this moving forward?
I'm very optimistic because the fundings and other things as it relates to the TDS program from FIFA, we will have the second drawdown as it relates to it. We haven't gotten all the funding so far for 2023, so which means that we have surplus in terms of funding. So therefore, we are very optimistic, very upbeat, and really looking forward to the program. Our intention is to intensify the program itself by virtue of mainly getting the rural-based players in on a more regular basis. Because as you know, the corporate era players are at a disadvantage as it relates to the training because they are able to train at least 4 times per week when compared to the rural-based players. So this is something that we will be trying to intensify to ensure that we have a somewhat fairly level ground for all the players to participate. And of course, that will go across the board for also the other gender in terms of the female.
All right, thank you very much, Jason. Thank you, Mr. Downswell. And finally, Taj Bailey, you may proceed. Go ahead.
Good. This is Robert Bailey, though. I think I need to change my name on the phone. But I have a question, Simon. Robert Bailey from the Jamaica Observer. A question for Mr. Peart. Mr. Peart, I know for whom a lot of persons might not know. Can you tell me about the quality of football that was on display in terms of the teams and the facility that the venues that we play on in Trinidad compared to what we have here in Jamaica?
Without starting with a comparison, I'll say the facilities, they were really good. All the games were played at stadiums that Trinidad would play international games, or in the 2001 U17 World Cup, which they hosted, acted as venues there. So they were quality matches. Yeah, you see, Trinidad is in a different position than Jamaica. Trinidad have parks, community centers, which were training facilities that they can leave lights on from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. every day, or they have certain surfaces that they can play on. But for us, we have to look at the things we can control at start. Yes, we may not have a luxury of 100 training pitches that teams can train on, but at start, while we plan to develop those, at start we can focus on the things we have real control over. So like coaching education, the message we send to players, and then we just try to find good surfaces within the parishes or communities or nationally where we can train. So it's kind of not the best to compare both countries as is. I think what's important is focusing on the human capital that we have. So we have a lot of talented players. We have a lot of talented coaches as well. And I must commend the the coaches who are working at the grassroots level, who are working at the elite youth level, because this success should be shared by them as well in terms of the level of the players that they continue to produce and put forward for national teams to use.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach Peart. Thank you very much, Mr. Downswell, Mr. Chung, Mr. Ricketts.
Second part, Simon. I'm talking about the quality of football that was on display there. I want you to speak to me about the quality of the competition.
Okay, in terms of the opposition you will talk about now.
Yeah.
Yeah, quality teams. One of the things you must remember is that when we played the CFU U15, because it should have been played in 2020, but because of the pandemic, they moved it from a U14 competition in 2020 to a U15 in 2021. Two of the teams we played in this tournament, well, we drew a game with St. Kitts in 2021, and we lost a game 1-0 to Puerto Rico in the same tournament. But the quality of the opposition or the teams we played against were really at a good level for U15. So when you look at Trinidad and Tobago or Puerto Rico, with an influx of diaspora players from the United States playing for Puerto Rico, Aruba have players who play in the Netherlands who come down to play. I think the quality was really good. St. Kitts also has good players. I thought the St. Kitts goalkeeper, number 10 midfielder were really of high quality. So I don't think we should use the scorelines to undervalue the quality of the opponent. I think what we should do is praise the efforts of our team.
The recording has stopped.
And also to execute that idea to the best of their ability.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach Peart. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chung, Mr. Ricketts, Mr. Downswell for tuning on. Thank you very much, members of the media, for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. And this recording will be sent out quite shortly. So have a pleasant rest of the afternoon. And don't forget, Friday at 10 o'clock at the JFF physically, we'll have a press conference regarding the squad for the CONCACAF Nations League. So we're looking forward to seeing everybody Friday, 10 a.m. at the JFF. Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to Coach Peart and the entire technical team and support staff for the work that they did. So on behalf of everybody here, have a pleasant rest of the day and see you all on Friday.